Hello everyone. My name is Andrew Townsend. Welcome to our webinar. I'm with eLearning Brothers. This session is called Building Custom Graphics and Patterns in PowerPoint. This session will be recorded. We'll get a copy of it sent out to everybody who's in attendance later today, and we'll also be posting a copy of this on our blog later in the week, actually probably early next week. If you have any questions, please do use the questions panel. We'll get to as many of your questions as we can. And if there's some that we aren't able to answer here, we'll get those answered offline. All right, so to talk to us about PowerPoint and design, we have Nic Brown, our Director of Product and Design, with us. Thanks for joining us, Nic. And I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you all for joining me today. Before I get too involved in what I plan to go over, I want to get to know you guys a little bit and your roles. So I have a poll that Andrew will show on the screen. I want to know how many of you are graphic designers and how many of you are not. So if you could take the next 10 seconds and answer this poll for me.
Yep, so that's up on the screen here. It looks like we very much have a specific type of audience here. I'll give you guys just a couple more seconds to tally in. Maybe we'll sway things a little, though I doubt it. All right, and here's those results. The real answer is no. Our audience is not graphic designers. We've got 84% are not, and 16% would consider themselves graphic designers.
Okay, great. Thank you. So when I came up with this topic, that's the kind of audience that I was kind of, I would assume we'd have. But either way, I have some tips that you can all use, I think.
Great. I'll go ahead and pass the screen over to you, Nic.
Thank you. All right. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, looks great.
Perfect. All right. So I have three-ish kind of things that I have to go over today. I want to show you how to import vector icons and how to edit them. And then I want to show you how to create patterns using those icons. And then part two of that is I want to show you how to create patterns using lines and shapes that are all built in Tool.
So nothing, you're not going to leave PowerPoint? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm going to import some icons.
Okay, from the icon library?
Yes.
All right.
So Microsoft came up with an update about a year ago where PowerPoint now supports SVGs. And why that is so great is because vector graphics can be scaled to any size that you want, and it will stay clean and crisp. You can also edit the colors of the fill and the stroke. So I've already brought in an icon, which I will show you how to do after this, but I just want to give you an example of what I mean when I say you can scale it to any size. Oops, let's keep it.
What do you hold down to make it scale inside of the proportion?
Shift.
Shift, okay.
So you can see that this is huge, and it still looks really crisp and clean. So bring this down a little bit smaller, and then let me show you changing the fill. We can do solid.
Now this is all possible because it's in SVG as opposed to like a PNG or a JPEG?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So a JPEG, you wouldn't have these fill options. A JPEG, you wouldn't have, if you scaled it, you would start to lose detail. Is that?
It would go fuzzy and just look really low res.
Okay, so if I'm going to build something using icons in PowerPoint and I go to the icon library and I click download and there's all those options, SVG is usually my best bet?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will show you that next. So you can do gradient fills if you want. And then you can also change the stroke or the line. Just change here. I'm just going to bring this down so it's not so thick. Or you can have both. So it's really handy to be able to edit all of these in Tool and on the fly.
Yeah, we did. There's a couple questions that are wanting to know more about this SVG process and things like that. We did a webinar a little while ago that's published on our blog. If you go to our blog and you search for SVG, you'll find more details on this. But I don't want Nick to get bogged down in the details of editing and using SVGs today.
Yes, thank you. So I'm actually just going to go through that process really quickly. But yes, you're right that we do have other assets that we have on our blog that go more in depth. Okay, so where can you find icons? Well, we have a library of thousands and thousands for you to choose from. So if you are in our library, and I go to icon library, and I'm just going to click in the search bar, hit enter, because I want to see all of them. You can see we have over 86,000 in here right now when this loads. You can see here, total amount. If you were looking for something like in business, I can type that in and it'll pull up everything that's tagged related to business. And then we also have every icon is part of its own style, and that's what this button is here, where maybe I want to see business in only the color style. So I can click that and it will filter and only show me these icons as part of that style. And let me just click one more so you can see just how different some of them can be. So you really have lots and lots of options. Well, that one might not have any business in it. Sorry for the slow load.
It's nervous. It has stage fright. Every time it has to perform live, it goes really slow.
Yeah. Anyway, so there is a quick example of what we offer in there. There's one that I want to download that I already know. Let me clear this first. An icon that just shows the average in money, sales. Come on. Come on.
Money, 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 money.
All right.
Average is 1, according to
Yeah.
1 money.
Okay. So I want to download this one, which I already have, but let me show you how this works. So as you can go down here to download, and then you want to click on the SVG option, right? So I click that, it downloads. And then let me bring this in to PowerPoint. So average is icon, right? I just downloaded it. Just drag and drop, place it in there. And then I think on a PC, it will automatically bring up the graphics format tab for you. If you're on a Mac, you may need to click this right here. Then you can go, so make sure that the icon is selected, and then go to convert shape. You can also right click and go to convert shape. So we'll click this, it will ask you, are you sure? You say yes. And then now that is a shape you can edit and change in Tool directly. So I can go here and change the fill, change the stroke. So it's really, really handy and really easy and fast. Let's just change this. Okay, so now I want to show you how to create a pattern with an icon. So there are 5 steps that I have down here. The first one is to edit the icon to make sure that it has the right color that you want it to be, the right stroke, right fill. And step 2 is to save out the icon as an image, which I will show you this whole process after this. And then you'll draw a new shape to fill the pattern with based on the image that you export. All right, so we set it to to picture texture fill, and then to tile, and then you can adjust your settings from there. So I'm just going to copy and paste this icon that we just brought in, and I don't want it to have a stroke or an outline, and I'm going to use maybe this dark blue color. So that was step one, edit icon to make sure that you have the right colors. Step two is to save the icon out as an image. So I'm going to right click and save as picture. And then name it whatever you want to. I already have it saved out, so I'm not going to actually hit save, but you would name it, then hit save.
And now that is saving as a PNG.
Correct,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. And then I'm just going to move this off my stage. So step three is to draw a new shape that you want the pattern to fill. So I want to fill the entire background. And then you go to your format options, format shape.
That was a right click? Or
yes.
Control click?
Yes. Right click. I don't want this shape to have a stroke or a line around it. And I'm going to choose picture or texture fill.
Now to be clear, this is not the icon. This is that new shape that you created that is the fill shape, so to speak.
Correct.
Okay.
So then I'm going to choose the file that we saved out based on that image, right? So I have it saved out already here, and then
that looks great.
And then you check tile picture, and then from here you can play with scale. You can choose how it mirrors. So I'm going to bring this up to 50%, and I don't want it to mirror at all. Actually, let's bring this up to maybe 100%, a little easier to see. And there you go. And as you adjust your shape, it will auto resize everything exactly as you have it set in here. So that's the basics of creating your pattern with an icon just as is.
A couple questions on this one. So you just showed the resize. When you resize that background, it doesn't squish or eliminate anything. It just changes the number of items in the background. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of being treated as a mask in a sense, to where it's only showing wherever your shape is, because really this pattern can go on forever and ever and ever and ever.
Sure.
Right. So yeah. Okay. So what if I don't want to have the icon touching itself, on top and bottom and the sides? Well, let me get rid of this. Let me show you what you can do. So I have my icon here again. I'm going to draw a square. I don't want to fill, and I don't want a line around it. Now I need to.
That was just a shape?
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me actually do it again so I can tell you to hold down Shift, so it's an actual square. Yes. So no fill, no line, and then I want to align these center. So go to align.
As long as they're both highlighted.
Yes.
Okay.
And then align middle. And then with them both selected, again, I'm going to save this image out. So I'm going to right click and save as picture. I'm going to call this coin square. Save it.
Again, is PNG. Is that the default no matter what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then I'm going to just move this off stage, and then I'm going to then draw my shape again that I want to fill the pattern with. And again, I don't want line, so I'm going to click on Picture Texture Fill, go to File, then I'm going to select the image that we just exported, so coin square, right? And then hit Insert, and then check Tile, and then I'm going to scale this down just a little bit so we can see more of it. So what that did was it saved out my image with the icon and the square around it to where it had space around the image. So this amount of space from the icon to the square saved that all out as one image. And so that's what's adding the space around it.
And I can still make it look like there's more of those icons on it by adjusting
the scale.
this,
Yep,
just the
we can go down
scale.
to 10%. You can see there's tons on there. You can also adjust the transparency. So if you don't want it to be quite as dark.
Okay, what if I want it to be diagonal across?
So the next part I'm going to show you is creating a custom brick, I guess, alignment of the icons.
Okay,
so,
one other thing though before we move forward. So you just made a really cool pattern, really cool background, and all you needed to do was have an icon imported into PowerPoint. What if I want this background in something else like Articulate Storyline or Captivate? Can I export that patterned background as an image and then use that somewhere else?
Yep. So you can export all of your slides just as an image.
Okay, but what if I just wanted the pattern? Could I export or save just that background as an image?
Well, let's make sure. So I have this shape selected, right? I'm going to right click. Save as picture, and let's just call it coin pattern. Save as PNG. Let's go over here, and there you go.
Awesome.
Easy
and then
peasy.
I can stick that anywhere because it's a PNG.
Yep.
That's great.
Okay, so let me show you how to create this type of offset brick type pattern. And by brick, I mean each row and each column is offset by half of the width of the shape that is being used. So I'm going to get rid of this. So this is the same concept, but there's a few extra steps involved with this. So again, I'm starting. Let me zoom in a little bit here. You can see. Let's get rid of this. So again, I'm going to start with my icon, right? So I have this, and then I draw my square that I want. Hold down Shift to keep it a square. You can no fill. You want to have a stroke on it for right now, so you can see. So then I'm going to align my icon in the middle bottom and the right on the side right there. And actually, let's make this a little bit larger.
Now the size of the icon on the square is going to dictate the spacing, right? The padding between them.
Kind of. So let me show you. So I want this to repeat on the sides and top and bottom. So I'm going to align these.
No, you're not right clicking and saying copy. How did you move?
Oh, sorry. If you're
such an expert.
If you hold down Option on the Mac and do click and drag, it will make a copy for you. On a PC, what's the other option for option? Is Alt?
It's either Control or Alt, but I would imagine it's Alt.
Yeah. And then if you select these two and I make a copy, again hold down Option, and then also hold down Shift so that it stays aligned with itself. Otherwise, it would go like all over the place. So make sure that my points are aligned with my square. Right, so you see right there that those are aligned on that line, middle. And then I'm going to make one more copy and center this in my square. That's not centered. I should have done that one first, actually. Let's do this. I'm going to select all four of those, so those are aligned. I'm going to group them. Option Command G on a Mac, if you care. And then I'm going to select that one, and we're going to align these together so they are center and middle. Okay, and then we can ungroup that if you want to, which is Shift Option Command G. Okay, so from here, I need to follow the step of saving out an image. But I don't want this stroke this line, this box, to show up. So I'm going to get rid of the outline on it. So I'm going to select all of these and again right click, save picture as, and then name it. Now, I already have it saved out, so I'm not going to hit save here on this one. But and then actually, well, actually, we'll just do it. We'll just call it coins group. And then we can just get rid of this one. Okay. So we just saved this out as an image, right? So I'm going to bring that image in. So we go to where I saved it out, coins group, just drag and drop it. And then I want to crop where our square is. So when the pattern repeats, the coins line up with each other. So I'm going to select my square and give it a stroke so I can see it. And then I'm going to line this image up.
And that should be easy to line up, right? They should lock in with guides.
Yes, although PowerPoint is not terribly precise by pixels, so you may not get it exactly. Yeah, but it's
there's
close.
A quick question: when you exported it as a picture, did you group the icons before you exported it as a picture, or did you just highlight them all and then say export it as a picture and it put them all together?
Highlighted them all.
Okay, so they didn't have to be grouped.
Correct.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, so now, so my image is on top of that, right? So then I'm going to right click and go to crop, and then I'm going to bring my crop lines in to line up with my square. Okay, so now the image that I imported, that I exported from this group, is now cropped like this. Okay, so now I need to export this image, because the image I export from here, I'm going to use as my fill for our pattern. So I select this image that's cropped. Again, right click, save picture, and then I'm going to call it coin group cropped, just so it's easy to remember which it is. Save it. And then I'm going to move these off my stage, just get out of the way. Okay, so then I draw my shape that I want to fill with my pattern. And then I'm going to go to my format option, so right click, format, no line, choose picture or texture fill, so I'm going to my file. And then we did coin
And the reason
group.
it's already showing one is it's just defaulting to the last one you had?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I choose the image that we exported when that's cropped, go to insert, and then check tile picture as texture. And there you go. So you can see that there's a teeny bit of space between a few of them because I wasn't able to line up that square with my crop perfectly, but you can try doing that process again to get it more exact. But really, if you're making your pattern, fairly small, you probably aren't even gonna notice that.
So the spacing in between each of those icons, if you wanted it to be thicker but still be able to see the icon rather than just like changing the size, when you're making the original square, you would just make the icons bigger, right? Because you're just adjusting the space between them when you create your crop shape.
No, so the way that this pattern works is me line these up. So this is one square's worth of this pattern, and when it repeats, it just repeats to its sides, top and bottom.
Sure, I'm just saying if you wanted less space between each of the icons, you would need to make that decision.
Yes.
Before you make the square.
Yes.
Okay.
Or I could. Oh, you mean this square, right?
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, I would do that on this shape. Yep.
Okay, excellent. There is another question here. So you are editing a shape fill. Could you do this by formatting the background instead? So if you just have your background, you right click and you say format background. Could you do this here?
Yep, there you go.
Excellent. Of course, if it's a shape, you can move it around and make different patterns. But
yep.
Same principle.
Yes. So the other settings that are included with this, let me bring this down a little smaller, something more realistic that we'd use, are how it's being mirrored. So when the image is being mirrored this way versus like up or down, right? If it makes sense. You go down here to mirror type. Right now it's not doing a mirror. So when it mirrors, it means it's being flipped. Right now that's not happening at all. If I choose horizontal, you can see what happens to the shapes because
on the edges of the squares.
It's being flipped on its sides. Now if we choose being mirrored top and bottom, right, vertical, that's how that would look. And then there's an option to mirror both, and you get a completely different look. But it's so easy, so easy.
There is a question about cropping the corners. So you made a square that had hard outlines. Why did you have to crop the corners instead of just keeping the 4 or 5 full icons when you made the pattern?
Because if I, let me just show you. So I think what they're asking is, why didn't we just use this image to make it? Because you can't tell a pattern to overlap on itself. And so we're just cropping it to where it's going to sit next to itself. So let me show you this fill with this image that we saved out prior to being cropped, and you'll see what I mean. Let's reset this to none, and then choose a file, coins group, right? So that's a non-cropped version. So it does.
If you want that pattern.
Yeah, and it's not bad. I just wanted something to where it looked like it was all one evenly spaced row and columns worth of icons, just offset, you know, a bit. So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does look like you can take that shape and rotate it, so you can make it bigger and then rotate it diagonally or on its side if you wanted to.
Which shape are you
so if you click on the shape that you've created, the fill shape, there is a rotation handle up at the top.
Yes, yep. So you can tell the pattern to rotate with your shape, which this is checked right there. So you see it will go with your shape. If you have it unchecked, this is where more of like the masking type thing makes more sense, because if I rotate this, you can see that the pattern does not move, but the shape does.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you review again how to make the pattern smaller or bigger? Is that just in the scale?
Yep, X and Y. Yep.
Okay.
So you can always scale down, but you can't scale up. So I like to create my icons and my shapes for the pattern larger than what I will probably actually use them for, because I can only go up to whatever the actual size is that it's been saved out as.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Okay, so that's where showed you the mirroring options and how different things can look based on what you choose there. Here's another example. And this is going off of, you can see up here, I did the same sort of process where I lined up my icons. Here, let me actually just make this easy on all of us and zoom in a little closer. And so what I did is I set up my square, right? And then my icons, I aligned to the bottom and middle part of it, and then top and middle part of it. Then I saved this out as an image with my stroke transparent, because I didn't want that to show up in my image. And then I brought in let me show you how that looked exported. So that's how it looked exported. Let's just bring that in like this, right? So then we're going to line this up, and then again right click, and then crop, and then we're going to align to our box as close as we can. And then that's what this image is here, right? So then, whoops, okay. Sorry about that. So then we would then export this image, right? And I have it called cropped, so I know that it's one that's been cropped. And then I fill this shape with this image that's been cropped. So let me just move these off stage again. And then playing with the mirroring options, you can see different looks, really.
Yeah, all kinds of new patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some are going to look really great, and some are going to look not so great. But just play around with it, and you'll find something that you like. Okay, so what if you want to create a pattern with a handful of icons? Well, that's just as easy. I found these icons in our library. I downloaded them as SVGs. I brought them all in PowerPoint, and then we converted them to shapes. So then I could edit their fill color because they were actually black, not this dark blue. And then from here, I just kind of placed them where I thought they looked fine, and then I select all of them, and then again you right click, save as picture, and I already have it saved out as coins group, so I'm not going to do that. But then from there, just move these off to the side. Again, you draw your shape that you want to fill your pattern with. No line around it, and then go to picture, texture, fill, go to file, and then where do I have icon group? So insert tile picture as texture. I don't want to mirror this one. I just want it to, just repeat as is. And that might be a little too intense. So I'm going to bring down the transparency, or sorry, bring up the transparency. And there you have it. Super
now, to be
easy.
clear, you never left PowerPoint.
Except to bring in the icons.
Okay, so you left PowerPoint to download the icons to your computer. You brought those SVGs into PowerPoint and then never left.
Correct.
That's awesome.
It is. It is fantastic. And again, so I was expecting most of you that are here with us to not be graphic designers. And so this is a fantastic way for you to kind of do stuff on your own without having to rely on someone else, or if you don't have the right tools to do stuff in. Again, it's really easy. And even if you are a designer, you may have to build templates for someone else, on your team that can't edit all your files. And so this is a way for you to kind of set something up for them to be able to change things as needed.
Could you show us how to do this if it's possible? What if the shape I'm putting a pattern in is not just a large rectangle? What if I wanted to put that pattern in a star or a trapezoid or some other cool shape that PowerPoint has, like an arrow? I don't know. Pick something cool and crazy.
Let's try an arrow. So I don't want a line, but you choose picture or texture, and there you have it.
Could I create a custom shape?
Yeah, I think so. Yep. Easy peasy.
Awesome.
So let me just quickly show you a couple other examples. Undo all these of icons and patterns. I'm not going to go through exactly how I made them because the process, again, is pretty close to the same that it has been up to this point. But I wanted to show you kind of some other things that you can do with it. So this one is really fun. It's just this icon of a sun that I got from our library, and then I just kind of aligned 2 right side up, and then 2 upside down on the left and right. Again, saved it out, brought it back in, cropped, and then re-exported that, and then filled my shape with this. And you can see that my mirroring is set to both. If it were set to none, this is how it would look. Not as great, I don't think. If you're horizontal, that's okay. Vertical, interesting, but not what I was going for. And then both. And then this next one is a little squiggle line that I got also from our library. I didn't do anything.
That's the whole thing?
Yeah.
It's just a squiggle line?
I didn't do anything with it except just change it to red. And then let me show you some of my settings. So if this were set to none for mirroring, that looks nice too. Horizontal looks about the same. Vertical is nice. And then both looks about the same as well. And then the same squiggle icon, I just made a copy of it and then turned it around. So I flipped it.
And you're not doing any of the boxes or the trying to mirror, it's just that squiggle.
Yes, well, on this one, it's it twice. So on this one, I made a copy of itself.
Flip it upside down.
Yep, and then turn it around and then just put it back on top of itself. And then I saved both of those out together as one image.
Okay.
And then I filled it like this. So you really don't have to do a whole lot to get like a nice POW sometimes.
Could you change, so you made it red for that design.
Yes.
But once it's in the pattern, can you change its color?
No, but I can change my background, fill, and gradient. So let's just do solid. Let's just do gray. Oh, that's not good. Let's do black.
So you've got to make that color decision before you put it into the pattern.
Correct.
Okay.
But if you wanted to change it, super easy. You just highlight your shapes, change your fill, re-export, and then just change the image that is being used in this pattern.
Excellent.
So up to this point, I've been showing you using PNGs as the image that is used to create the patterns, but you can actually use the icons that you get as SVGs just as an SVG fill. So this is a star, again, that I got from our library, and I downloaded it, and it was black, and then I just filled my pattern with that image of the star. Let me just show you how that looks. So that's how it's brought in. Go to insert, again, check tile picture, and that's it. I mean, this is set to both. You can play with this if you like. None. Oh, and then it's scaled down.
Once it's into the shape fill. The color, I mean.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. But if you wanted to change the color of the star, you could bring the star into PowerPoint and change it to a graphic, just like we did on the other ones. I was just saying that you don't have to use a PNG to fill a pattern. Okay, so I have a lot of these that I was doing, so I'll just kind of quickly go through a few more. So this one was done by me just drawing a line. So I went up to shapes and then chose scribble, and then I literally just scribbled. And I had my outline set to white, and then I just made 2 copies of it. So on a Mac, hold down Option and Shift, make a copy, and then hold it in place vertically, horizontally, sorry. And then I saved these 3 lines out together as one image, and then I filled this shape with that image, and that was it. You can also, this is another example of me just drawing some random shape.
You're such an artist.
Yeah. helped to draw it large, so when it's scaled down, you can't see how rough it actually is. And then using shapes, so this, you can see, let me get rid of this. So this half of the pattern is an image fill from these shapes, and then this one is from this shape. So again, I just drew these squares in here. One of these squares has an outline or a stroke. This one has a fill. You select them, save picture. That's it. If you want to play with the same pattern on top of itself, so this is the same pattern, but it's set to have a transparency. This one's set to 75%, that one's set 50%, and then you can see that my scale on this one, so my size is 25%, and this one is 15%, but it's the exact same fill. So if we, what's that one again? 25%. If I change this to 25%, you can see that it's the exact same fill, but I just changed its scale a little bit on it, so it looked like it was different. So that's an option to play with. If you want to maybe put a pattern over an image, so that same pattern I have set to this image that I have in here, right? It's just scaled way down.
Gives it a cool texture.
10%, and transparency is way up on it. And that same sort of effect, but with a different shape. This one's just using these two dots saved out. And then it's scaled way down, so we bring that up to 50%. You can see the actual dot shapes themselves. But really, I just drew shapes, export, fill, done. You can also do it with text. So I did an NB for Nic Brown because that's me. So you can see I have two. Let me actually get rid of one of these. So you can see that I have my shape on an angle here, but
can you zoom in a little? Let's see proof that that's NB.
Yes. See, look at that. Oh, it doesn't like being zoomed in quite that close, I guess. Oh no. Okay. But so this is just text I typed out, and then I just saved that out as an image.
Rotated it with the rotate with shape unchecked.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. Something else that was really fun, I just drew these lines in here in this tool, right? So they're just a bunch of lines with different weights for the its width, sorry. And then set to different colors, and some of them have transparencies on them. And then I saved that out to this whole group as one image, and then I brought that in. And this just shows you the different mirroring options based on the image that was brought in here. So this one's set to mirror both. This one's set vertical, none. So from just one shape, you can have 4 different looks completely.
And again, if you don't want that empty space, like in the top left one, there's little empty diamonds. If you didn't want that, you would just use the square crop on your original shape before you put it into the...
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Simple enough.
Okay, we're running out of time, but this is really fun, and all it is just a bunch of triangles. So you can see they're all set to have different fill gradients. Some of the swatches have a transparency on them, which gives it that sort of transparent look, I guess. But with this shape, this is filled with this shape that I exported from this line pattern that I made. So there's another example of using different shapes to fill them with. And then I just, again, you select all these, export as image, and then you just create your fill pattern. This is the exact same fill pattern, but the mirroring is set to both, I believe.
That looks really cool.
Yep, so you can see none, both. It's magic. This one is just 4 squares. 2 of them have fill, 2 are lines. Transparency is being used on that color and that color.
Probably worth it to note that some of these wouldn't look nearly as cool if your actual background didn't have a gradient.
Oh, yes, good point. Good idea. Let me show you how that might affect things. So if I get rid of this, you can see that's my background color. But let's say that we wanted to, oops, go back. Change it to be something, oh, I don't know. Let's see how this looks. Ooh, that's pretty. That's fun, huh?
It makes the pattern pop out
Yeah.
because the pattern had the same gradient as the background.
Yeah. So it just depends on what your goal is. This one is, so that line pattern that I created, I just put a square in here and I filled the square with that image, right? And then I exported this square and then I brought it in to here to make this. So if we go to none, you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see that that image of the square is that right there. And if we sort of vertical, or sorry, horizontal, that's its own look. Vertical, I liked both personally. And then
it's like wallpaper.
Yeah. So just real quick, I know we're out of time. Just a few more. This is based off of this shape, and it's these 2 line drawings that I have in here, and then just this triangle shape together. So that's fun. And then let's see, the circle pattern right here is just 3 circles. They each have a fill and an outline, but they have a transparency, and then there's overlapped, and then again you just select them all, save as an image, fill. And the background color on this one, just so you have an idea of, is that these 2 pinks are being used as the gradient. And then this pattern is one of my favorites, I think. It's just 2 triangles.
Some socks that have
yes,
that pattern on?
I want it as a tie.
Oh, as a tie. That would be good too.
But this is just 2 triangles. Isn't that nuts? That's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's just 2 triangles. And then this one is the exact same thing, but the 2 triangle pattern is copied and then rotated. So let me see if I can, there you go. So it's the same shapes, just copied and then turned to the side. And that's it, people. It's so easy. You make some really amazing stuff. So I hope that this has been helpful for most of you. And if you don't have an account with us to get our icons, you can sign up for a free trial and just go choose some icons and try this out.
You can learn more about that at elearningbrothers.com. I have one more slide that you designed, Nick. I want to show everybody. No pressure. I hope it's a good one. I hope you're proud of it.
It's probably just fine.
Oh, you say that. Let's find out. All right, so this one has some cool patterned backgrounds, and this is a PowerPoint slide, but how much of it did you actually build in PowerPoint? None?
The text.
Well, Nick is going to be at ELBX Live nonetheless, and you're doing a session, if I remember correctly.
No, I'm not.
You're not doing a session.
But either way, I would love to hear from all of you that come.
So if you come to ELBX Live and find Nick and mention this session, he'll say cool.
I'll give you a high five or a hug. Either's fine with me.
But it's going to be really cool. We've got more cool tips and tricks, lots of general e-learning theory, but also some design tips and tricks that we're going to be giving there. You'll want to come. That's June 10th in Salt Lake City. You can register at elearningbrothers.com. There's more information there. If you guys have questions about that, please do give us a call or go to elearningbrothers.com. You can use the chat there on the website. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us, Nick. This has been very, very useful and very awesome.
Thank you, guys.
We hope to see you guys all next time. Thanks.